Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. And we're going to go into this interesting session today. Thought provoking. Some people will not like it, but we always like to keep you aware of everything that's going on, and hopefully you can form your own opinions. So, as you can see from this title, the question is, will AI end enterprise software? Now, for those that don't know what is enterprise software, we're talking about all these applications that are running in businesses, organizations, governments, things like CRM, customer relationship management systems that track leads and customers, or things like LMS, learning management systems, which are used for different kinds of learning engagements, or human resources systems, or ERP for accounting and supply chains, or support desks, any of these systems, which have been the bedrock of enterprises, enterprise meaning, businesses, organizations for many, many years. That's what we're questioning. Would these actual systems survive? Now, I've been in the IT space for quite some time. And during my days, early days, you had most of the software was hosted. Most of these kind of applications were hosted on premise, meaning at the infrastructure of the organizations. So big companies like Oracle, SAP, Microsoft would sell these companies, these organizations, a license to use the software, and they would host that license internally. And these were clunky systems, not easy to change. They are deployed across the whole organization. And then one day, a Salesforce came out. So the founder of Salesforce was an ex-Oracle employee, and he figured that instead of having all of this software running on the enterprise on premise, why don't we put it on the cloud? And that's how Salesforce was born. And even though the employee was an ex-Oracle person, Oracle was one of the big companies that made use benefited from this on-premise setup. The Oracle founder also invested in Salesforce because they could see that this is actually a shift where instead of the organizations having to worry about their infrastructure, setting up the servers and the storage and the network inside their organization, they could just take the same service, the same enterprise software, but delivered from the cloud, where the company, like Salesforce in this case, handles all of the infrastructure needed and just delivers the actual product to the organization. So it delivers the actual CRM straight to the organization through the web browser instead of having to install the infrastructure. So we've been at this for some time. Salesforce has already, when they first started, they made their campaign, which is to focus on the death of software, as you can see here in the image, and it paid off quite well. People recognized it, and a lot of companies switched to Salesforce, and that's where SaaS was born, software as a service. So now you have a lot of different companies. Here are some of the companies that actually run different parts of this SaaS business, and they deliver different aspects of it: CRM, ERP, all kinds of systems, all delivered through the cloud. You don't have to install them, but you buy into them, and then you grow. Now, so there are some newer versions of these, newer companies that have come out, which are trying to keep, making things simpler and simpler, because what happened with time is that a company like Salesforce, which originated all of this movement, has become also so clunky. Companies that are using Salesforce have a really hard time switching out of Salesforce and going into other things, because what happens once you set up these enterprise software in the organization, you map the business logic, you map the journey. So they're very structured, and this is what they focus on. They focus on structuring the kind of business processes in a certain pattern that they can hold, and then they put a layer where you can analyze that process. But that pattern creating or mapping that business logic is time consuming, is very hard to change. And that's why over time, even though these modern companies are supposed to be very light and very, efficient, over time it becomes harder and harder to actually move from them. So as we all should do when we are faced with such a discussion or such a thought process, I asked ChatGPT, so let's have a look at all of these main enterprise software packages. And I asked GPT, which ones do you think could be the ones that could be disrupted with a new architecture, which I'll tell you a bit about in a second. What is this new architecture? But mainly an AI-driven architecture, this modern architecture. And you can see here, it gave us the ones that were the most easiest to change. So it's easiest to change support desks. So if you've been following our sessions, we've been talking a lot about voice-based agents who can answer, AI agents who can answer phone calls, do customer support, service. So these are doing really a great job in reducing the costs of contact center operations, but they still need to be integrated with the existing support desk systems that the customers have. And here, in our dealing with different customers, that's where we're seeing some challenges, because some support desks are easy to integrate with, others are not. Some are optimized for the business logic, some are not. So when you can then have AI, not just provide the AI agent, but also provide the support desk software, that would become a really big value proposition for the customers. And as you can see over here, it's actually easy to do. It's not that difficult to do. So will support desk software remain? Will they be useful moving forward? That's a big question. We'll see. Same when it comes to CRM and a sales agent. So you can add the CRM tools linked to a AI sales agent that actually goes out, talks, sells, try to sell the product, and feeds the information back into the CRM about that customer, their requirements, everything we would need to know about that customer. Same concept over here. Some CRM systems are easier to connect to versus others, and some are quite, structured in a way that's designed for the way it has been done for the past 15 years. So they might not be optimal when you add an AI agent on top of it. But if we can provide CRM and sales agent together in a little package, then that's easy to set up and it has a lot of value. Same thing with learning management systems, and where the AI agents become the learning coaches. So you have the content, and the learning content is there, people can go through it, and then you get the coach that actually supports the learner in going in a deep dive, answering any questions they have, etc. So again, same concept with existing enterprise software learning management systems. A lot of them are very restrictive, it's very hard to connect to, etc. So we can reimagine this whole process and so on. I'm not going to go through the others, but same kind of concept. So the solution is something like this. In general, all of these software stacks, they have two main databases. Databases are the store of information. So in anything that we're interacting with, you will have usually a user database. And let's talk about, as an example, the learning management system. So the user database in the learning management system is the learner. They would go in, you'd want to track what they're taking as learning components. You want to give them points on what they've taken, so they collect badges and they could do certificates, etc. So all of that's stored in a user database, which tracks what the user is doing. And then you have another database, which is the content database, the database that has the actual learning elements, the videos, the quizzes, the things to read, games to play. All of that is in another database called, the content database. And typically in a learning management system, an enterprise software level learning management system, these are structured in a certain pattern and a certain way, and you would usually follow the process that the system allows you to do without too much flexibility in terms of if you want to change a certain flow for a different kind of user would be difficult. So the future model that is interesting is where you just have these databases organized in a really good way, and then you have an AI on top of them, an AI layer that the users interface with. So then when a user comes and gets into this, talks to this AI, either through chat or voice, they would basically, the AI would know from the user database, what is that user, what's their role, or if not, it would ask them for it, and what do they want to learn today? And based on what they want to learn, the AI has access to the content database, so we will personalize the learning to the extreme for that user, meaning it is not restricted by a certain workflow or a process. It would basically pick the best content for the user based on their own needs. It would, it can experiment with them to basically test them out, do like a little pre-test to understand where is that user at the moment in their learning journey, what do they need to learn, and then be able to feed them with the right content. So this is the new structure that we see is going to be taking over a lot of the enterprise software, and we're actually working on it. So stay tuned. Over the coming months, we're going to be sharing, all of this, and it's going to allow organizations to reimagine these functions for the age of AI. They'll be able to reduce a lot of the costs that they pay now for enterprise software by being able to follow this model, and it's going to be a much more impactful model to be used for the beneficiaries, the users of these systems. So stay tuned. We'll keep you updated. If you're subscribed to our channel, stay engaged so that you can be up to date with the latest and greatest developments from Potential.com. In the meantime, I want you to experiment. AI is all about experimentation. It's all about trying out different systems, learning how to talk to the AI, how to give feedback, how to engage. And the AI models are just keep on, they continuously improve, they continuously get better. So don't get discouraged if you face some issues with some model. Make use of what's really good at this stage. And in a few weeks, few months, things improve. Always remember that we are at the worst level that AI will ever be right now. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get cheaper. So experiment. That's my message to you. And one way that you could really experiment quite efficiently and see a value is through the voice bots, which I love because you can imagine these AI agents, voice agents, and you can go to ai.potential.com/Rachel and try one. You could imagine these as fellow workers or your job, and interact with them in a way and build them in a way that mimics what we're doing today, because then you can see what are they able to do in what we do today, so that we can then upskill and amplify our own work using these kind of bots. So they're very easy to try. You can try them for free and set them up in minutes, but it gives you a great perspective of how to use these in your workplace, in your environment. So that's it from my side. I hope you found this useful, and we'll see if basically the enterprise software is gonna remain or not. The world is changing right before our eyes. Things are moving at a dramatic pace, and we have to reimagine everything that we've been doing for the past 15 years, 20 years. So be ready for the future, engage, experiment, try out different things, and be well prepared. So that's my message to you. And that's it from my side for this week. Look forward to catching up next week. Take care.